The Care Credit credit card is a friendly, flexible way to pay over time for veterinary care for your horse, dog, cat, and other animals in your family. It's your card for a lifetime of care, subject to credit approval. To learn more, visit carecredit.com/3day with the number 3.
Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakanis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
I am thrilled to be talking to you because I know you recently went on a blimp adventure, and I don't know anyone else who's been on a blimp adventure. So please tell our listeners that you mentioned you might be doing this in our last episode.
Well, as of the last episode, I was thinking I definitely not going to be able to go, and it was on my bucket list, and it wasn't going to work out, and I was so sad. So I just wanted to update everyone that I did, in fact, decide to YOLO it. Just got the flight and went and did it. It was on Kentucky Oaks Day, which is the Friday, the day before the Kentucky Derby. And they just said they invite some media, some influencers, some, guests. That you can't buy tickets to ride the Goodyear blimp. You have to
know someone.
Be invited, kind of know someone. Yeah. You could work for a tire dealership. They invite some of their high profile tire dealership people. Otherwise they donate rides to charity auctions. So you might spend a couple grand on getting a Goodyear blimp ride through a charity auction is a pretty surefire way, but most people don't have that lying around. So yeah, it's very lucky, and I had a feeling that I would not have another chance to do this where they just had reached out to me. So I just decided I'm going to make it happen, and it was so cool. I flew to Kentucky, was basically there for 24 hours, got up in the morning, went on the flight, and then that was that. It was amazing. I have lots of pictures and videos. It was a pretty short flight, maybe 20 or 30 minutes at most, but you fly around downtown Louisville, circle the track around Churchill Downs. You circle kind of above the regular airport, SDF, which is the big international airport.
What are my initials? SDF?
SDF. How
is
funny.
Louisville's airport code. Amazing.
Well, I just like SDF because they are in a row on the keyboard. I always like typing SDF.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So, Holly, I have to ask, do you have to go through airport security, or is it cold on the blimp like it always is on airplanes? Are you buckled in? How does that even work?
Oh, I love these questions. Yeah. So, it was actually flown out of Bowman Field, which is a very old airfield where, people keep private little small planes, and, very kind of World War II era, stuff and pictures inside the building there, a very old building. There's a hangar, and it was just parked out in the grass. So there's a little building where I met the, media contact or, Goodyear PR person who I'd been talking to. Just a little, tiny little 1-story building out, on the airfield. And she sent us out to a van that drove us all the way across the grass. There's little dirt lanes out. It was way out in the grass, parked on a little tower so it doesn't float away. And yeah, there's no security or anything. They actually weigh every person, which they did warn us to make sure that you are under, I believe, 350 or 330, something like that, pounds.
That's embarrassing.
So yeah, no, they said everyone will be weighed, and just make sure to wear flat shoes because you have to climb up this kind of scary ladder as the blimp's kind of floating up and down off the grass. So you don't want to be in your high heels or anything. There are seat belts, but once you ascend, which is fairly steep, you can just unbuckle and kind of walk around, and it's a little like this, but it's going slow. I think around 30 or 40 miles an hour.
So does it rise straight up, or it
when I saw the next flight go out, honestly, it looked like it was going 45 degrees up to me, but they said it was only a 15-degree climb, but it feels steep. And then it can't go past 10,000 feet altitude because there's no pressurization in the cabin. So that's like a safe level. Yes, it's usually very cold, but you know, it was May in Kentucky, a very cool day, but I wasn't cold or anything. I
just little pretzels.
No, absolutely not.
Any kind of service or a movie?
Well, no, the only two employees were the pilots. So there was one pilot flying. There's no, what's it called? Autopilot whatsoever. You have to have your hands on the controller at all times to make sure it stays in control. And then the other pilot was just kind of there as backup. So he kind of answered our questions and talked to us.
So
he did not give us
is there a cockpit, or is this all like an open, like
it's all open? Yeah, they're just the front two seats are for pilots. And then there's like 6, 8, 10 maybe seats, like one down each side. And there is a tiny little bathroom, but hopefully that doesn't need to get used too much. But I feel like if you were prone to air sickness or motion sickness, this might not be for you because it does wobble around. You know, it's a flying sack of helium. So yeah.
Amazing. And then how was like descending or whatever they call landing?
I think that, they just told us to go back to our seats and, very nice. It's softly touched down and they just point the propellers, so it doesn't fly away. And then when it's ready to take off, they kind of angle the propellers the other way, but it just kind of gives it a little thrust, but the helium is what makes it rise. Yeah.
Well, I hope you can put a picture or two in the show notes this month because that's really fun. I know I follow you on social media, but this was on your personal account, so I don't know.
And I did a story that was on Horse Illustrated's website, so we can link to that as well. Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update. I know that's probably longer than I meant to talk, but just as an update, I got to go.
I have a quick update too. You are speaking with a champion at the moment, just so you know. The little virtual dressage show spring winter series I did. I am I won the prestigious award of Intro Test C Adult Amateur Champion. Thank you. The
hardest of the intro. Very good. Very good.
I will be. So I texted my sister. She sent me the notification that she saw online. And I said, I'm expecting my tiara and the crown for night soon. And she said it's in the mail. So there you have it. But speaking of awards, Horse Illustrated cleaned up. This episode today is really going to be featuring on kind of the tenure of Horse Illustrated. Our 50th anniversary celebration is this year. But we were just at American Horse Publication Awards ceremony in Lexington, Kentucky. And please share with us how well our magazine did.
It was quite a year. It's always so hard to know what to enter because, you can't enter everything. There's, a cost for entry. So you have to really think about, that's just, I tear myself apart every year about which articles to enter. So I guess I chose some good stuff this year. We had we have an honorable mention, a third, a second, and then we had 4 first place, which was a feature article, which I was very excited about because I feel like that's a really hard category, but it's also a category that Horse Illustrated really, specializes in features that just don't fit in the other categories like horse care and personal column and that kind of thing. So a feature could be about anything. So it was an article about the Hawaiian cowboys called Paniolos. So it was very, very cool. It was a really interesting story, but you just never know. A lot of ones I think are really interesting that don't place. So that one, and then editorial photograph was also a first place. That was an Icelandic horse galloping in silhouette against the northern lights.
That was beautiful. I saw that one.
Just so cool. And I really loved it. But I'm like, who knows? Like the ones that you feel so strong, you just never know. But it did win first place. And then cover of a Palomino that honestly, the photographer sent it to me special, which this never happens, and said, I just got this shot of an American quarter horse rearing against like a dark gray stormy sky. And it's just a really special. I thought maybe I'd save it for you for a cover if you're interested. And I said, yes, I love it. We were just about to do our, I think, July, August issue last year. And, so I was able to immediately use it as a cover, and that was the winning cover, which they're not just looking at the picture. It's kind of like the colors and the use of text and everything in the layout.
Yeah.
So, and we'll link to all these so you can see them. And then we won, general excellence in our circulation category, which we also won last year. Very excited about that. But for the first time that I'm aware, we won overall excellence out of all publications of all circulations, whether association or, independently run, or all of them. So that was like the big kahuna, the Oscar for Best Picture, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So we should probably tell our listeners that it is like an awards ceremony, and they have the step and repeat, kind of backdrop where you take photos. And I saw Holly. And so each first place gets this really nice looking kind of rustic wooden plaque that has like a brass nameplate with, the winner's name. So Holly was like holding this pile of wooden plaques. And then for like second place in that, you get certificates and that. So she had an armload there.
And I got to shout you out. You were holding a plaque by the end of the night.
I was excited because it's the first time I've won anything. I haven't entered in years, but it was an article.
I believe I told you to enter something this week.
So it was for a different publication, but it was about Pony Penning Week. And also I got two second places, and one was for Young Rider, the Chincoteague Pony Drill Team article, which was so much fun to write. And then the other one was for Detroit Horsepower, which is a wonderful nonprofit in the Detroit area that's really making a difference with some city kids who, are really thriving having horses in their lives. So that was
a Horse Illustrated article that might be on our website. I'll have to check, but it was a great article.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So, Holly, speaking of all the awards and then thinking about the 50th of Horse Illustrated, when you were a little girl, I know you made your own little horse magazines and stories and illustrations and that sort of thing, but did you ever dream that you would be an editor of a horse magazine or of Horse Illustrated?
I did not. Spoiler alert. I would have. I think my answer is the same as you'll be hearing soon from Liz Moyer. I would have if I would have known or really thought much about these kind of things when I was 12, but I just, it's the same thing as most people say, you could be a horse trainer or a horse veterinarian. And we talked about jockey. Yes, I was very tiny as a child. I thought that was my only possible path that I could see was jockey. So that was definitely my dream. But then as I got older, kind of high school age, my dad's very like, oh, the humanities there's no jobs. You've got to stick to science. And so once I got to college, I really focused on science, which I like science, but I also love art and writing and, I'm left-brained and right-brained. I'm not a math person, not at all, but love science. So I focused on science. But then I still just did not really just take off into any sort of career field with that and went straight back to grad school for horse nutrition. And then I was a groom. So I just could not shake off the horse thing in spite of my best efforts, and was temping and landed at a horse magazine, which I'm sure some people have heard me tell that story before. But that sort of started me on the path to loving working at a magazine, which was like a dream because I was always a magazine person. So I was sure I had landed in the right spot at that point.
So I would love it if you could just give us a little intro for our guest, Liz, coming up next, because you worked very closely with her for many years. And so tell our listeners who we're going to be speaking with.
Elizabeth Moyer was the editor of Horse Illustrated magazine. from, I believe it was 2007 or 6, somewhere on there, until 2019. So, and she started like me as an associate editor, when in 1999. So she also worked her way up through the ranks of editing. But yes, a full 20 years at Horse Illustrated, and she now works for the United States Pony Clubs. So we still get to see her at a lot of events, and it's great to still have her out in the industry and keep in touch, because we became great friends. And, you know, talking to somebody every day for so many years, gosh, what was that? 12 years, I guess, that we worked together. You know, you become very close, you know each other's working habits, and you just become this machine that can get things done. So it was a great time, a great experience working with her. So I'm very excited to have her on for this 50th anniversary Horse Illustrated year, on our podcast.
Listeners are going to love it. And I share something that maybe I shouldn't have about an editing typo. So they'll have to keep an ear out for that later in the episode. But on to the show.
To celebrate Horse Illustrated's 50th anniversary in 2026, we are offering our Best of Horse Illustrated special collector's issue. It's available for sale now for $9.99 and includes 100 pages, with a look inside our very first issue in 1976, our favorite covers over the years, the history of a changing magazine, and award-winning stories throughout the years. You can order now at tinyurl.com/special50, and that's special-50.
Hey, Liz, I am so happy that you are our Barn Banter guest here today, and it's great to see you, and thank you for coming on our show.
I'm excited to banter.
Yeah, well, I know you've got a lot of the inside scoop on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider from days of yore, being a past editor. So I think Holly filled your shoes. How long ago has that been now? I'm kind of losing track because I did know you as editor.
Yeah, Holly took over in 2019, but I was with Horse Illustrated from 1999 to 2019. So, yeah, it was a good long run there, and I knew I was leaving the magazine in good hands with Holly, and she's done an amazing job with it. So, still my favorite horse magazine.
Mine too. All right. So I am so curious to know, when you were a little girl, did you dream of being the editor of Horse Illustrated? Like, were you familiar with the magazine, or how did that all kind of come about?
So, well, had I known this was a job I could dream about, it definitely would have been my dream job. But, you know, at the time, horse magazines, I grew up in Los Angeles, so it wasn't really horse country. You know, you didn't have like the tack and feed store. So finding horse magazines was, and this is pre-internet. I'm going to date myself. So, you had to find the horse magazines on the newsstand, whether that was at like your local bookstore or the grocery store or wherever. So yes, whenever I found Horse Illustrated, I loved it and I would buy it. But yeah, it was not easy to find at the time, just, any access to horse magazines or anything. I mean, I was a kid that read every horse book in the library over and over and over. So, yeah, I didn't really know that being the editor of a horse magazine was a career thing. It was like, oh, well, if you want to work with horses, you could be a jockey, a trainer, or a vet. It wasn't, the awareness of all the opportunities out there.
I do remember, this is kind of bringing it back for me, because I remember thinking, well, I can't be a jockey because I'm too tall. And I didn't really want to be a vet because I didn't want to put horses down. So yeah, the options seemed very, very small back then.
Right. And I thought, well, definitely, maybe writing horse books was a dream,
Yeah.
Read Henry or something like that. But fiction doesn't really seem to, it wasn't until I discovered more of the how-to, different styles of writing or journalism writing. I was like, that was kind of more my alley.
So
my
was that your
career aspiration was to be, go into advertising because, Darren Stevens on Bewitched looked like he had a really fun job. So I kind of focused on advertising, and I was a copywriter until I found the Horse Illustrated job listing in it was in a newspaper. It was in the Los Angeles Times, help wanted.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So did you get your degree in journalism or like
So
what was
yeah,
your background?
I actually majored in advertising, but that was through the School of Journalism, where I went to school at the University of Colorado Boulder. So I went to journalism school, but I really only took the basic journalism 101 type of classes, and then it, went more into the advertising and the business end of it.
Gotcha.
Fine.
So take us back to 1999. I remember that year well. That was my first year teaching. Do you remember your first day working at Horse Illustrated, or do you have any memories from those early years that have kind of stuck with you?
Well, I mean, just the editing, the job application process at the time was kind of memorable because you had to take an editing test, which was a take-home project where you had to critique the magazine. And so you had to really look at it with this is the magazine in print, and you're going to tell the editor what's wrong with it, or what you would change, or what you would do better, or what they did well. And actually, the first time I applied for a job at Horse Illustrated, I did not get it. It was for a managing editor role, which they wound up filling in-house. But when the associate editor position became available, they called me, and so kind of went from there. But the editor at the time, Moira Harris, was really a great mentor to me. So, during my stint as editor, I would totally hear her voice in my head, all the time. So she really, kind of really set the magazine on track to be what it is today.
So how would you say the magazine has changed? I mean, it's really kind of been a long-standing publication, but how has it changed maybe both on the production side with technology and in terms of content? Because, I mean, you haven't been there for a while, but you were there for such a long chunk of time. I'd be so curious to dig into that a little.
On the technology side, I would say, the biggest change really was the shift from when I started, we used slides, like everything was, print or slide transparency. So you had to send it out to be scanned, and it just took a lot more time, and it was more difficult to source. Like the photographers had to submit actual physical,
Photos?
slides.
Oh, slides.
Photos or slides, but yeah, a lot of, and so you had to, like, the whole stewardship of those slides was very important. Like you didn't want to lose some photographers' slides.
So you had to send them back, the photos and slides?
So shipping them back and forth. So the photo needs, it just, you had to get your photo needs out there early so that they could ship the photo submission into you and that you would have the photos you needed. We did some of our own photography as well. And so there was a lot of, developing a film that had to, I remember I made a lot of stops at the Pro Photo, dropping off film, picking up film.
So you weren't in a dark room somewhere handling the editorial and developing photos for Horse Illustrated.
Yeah, the whole slide film process, it was definitely more time consuming for sure. I mean, when I started the magazine, we did, the internet existed, we had email.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, we didn't really have the search engines and the website, the information was, some of it was online, but it was a lot harder to find. So,
and as editor, like, I know there's always like people sending in letters to the editor and that. Do you have any memorable feedback that you received during your years there from readers?
Well, for a while there, I knew every time we ran an article about helmets, you could count on a stream of outrage of letters back and forth, the pro helmets, the anti-helmets, and then people arguing with other letter writers. And, this would go on for a few months, and it was like a real hot button issue. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared. Like we ran a helmet article and it was crickets. So, I think that was kind of a big editorial focus for the magazine, was promoting helmet use and safety around horses. And so it was like, wow, helmets
worked.
They become mainstream, right? They become more accepted. I mean, yes, there are still people that will, not wear them or whatever, but they're not writing angry letters to magazines about it.
Right. And I wonder too, this is a little bit of a tangent, but the acceptance with the helmets is like we have more options and some of them actually look kind of cute. So instead of like, oh, this is for my safety, it's like, this matches my outfit, or I can bling it out and things like
Right.
that. So that's really cool. What, so, and Holly, if you want to answer this too, you can, but like, what would you say makes a story right for Horse Illustrated? Like, what is kind of that underlying vibe that we're trying to present to our readers and that we've kept them around for so long?
Oh, I want to know Liz's answer first.
I would say really the key is to know your readers and to know what is going to resonate with them. I think from those years of opening, Horse Illustrated used to have the gallery page in the back where people would send in their pictures of their horse because, we didn't have Facebook. So that was how you shared your horse, if you made it to the gallery. So opening all those photo submissions, opening all the mail, answering the phone, you really get to know your readers pretty well. So just kind of thinking of keeping that reader in mind, I think is key.
And Holly?
Say the same. I feel like I sort of have like the stick figure person in mind who kind of lines up along the most common demographics, like what are they into? And you just kind of know it when you see it. It's not that different from myself and, other horse people I know. So if it's something that I think super interesting and I think, well, is this, fringe? Like I'm into eventing. I know that's very, very minority among our readers. So like, that's probably not going to be a main story, but just something where it's like a horse and human bond, like that is ever popular. Wow, they overcame some amazing challenge. And, same thing for young rider. It's just the same kind of idea, but like scale it down younger. They love to read about other kids that did something amazing with a horse or had a bond with a horse. So those are always popular.
Was Liz, I think you mentioned earlier when we were chatting something about a special bond that there was a woman on the Arabian show circuit, if you would share that.
One of the most memorable articles that really still sticks with me after all these years. This was a gal, and I'm trying to remember her name. But she had no legs and just one arm, and she showed her Arabian horse like on open circuit. It was not like a para competition at all. She rode side saddle. I mean, she just figured out what she wanted to do and she made it happen. She had some very supportive community around her that I think someone that maybe made some adaptive equipment, but she showed side saddle. She showed in hand like showmanship with with her wheelchair and the horse, and she did driving. She did a lot with it. It was an Arabian horse. Horse's name was Letty. I didn't remember that. And they just had this amazing bond that made this possible. And, she was just so determined. And she and this horse, what they achieved together, that article has always, been one of the ones that has stayed in my mind.
Did you write that article too? Or was that something
this was it was a pitch, it came in from someone, and wonder whatever happened to her.
I know. I feel like after we record this, we need to do some Googling and find out where are they now.
Her name it might have been Erin Andrews, which of course But yes, I would be curious to know if she's still writing today. I think the last update was she said she was going to go to college and major in psychology or biology or something. Want to go into the sciences or something.
So Holly, in your tenure as editor, are there any stories that you kind of like Liz mentioned that have really stuck with you?
Well, I just don't think I can top that. But no, I do love that. Like any, just seeing people that have had to overcome like so much more, you feel like, oh, well, my parents didn't like buy me a horse and it was so hard. But then you see people that like really have to overcome some stuff. And I always find those inspiring. So if anyone is like trying to pitch articles, they keep that in mind.
Okay. But, note to listeners, if you have an incredible horse human bond story with someone who's had to overcome many challenges in order to thrive with their equine.
Yes, like I just learned about what's his name, Endo the blind. That Lisa with no eyes, and they are jumping somehow. I don't know. So I have officially taken up a pitch from someone that wants to write a whole story about that horse. I wanted to learn more, and actually Liz was the one who put him in the article on the most memorable horses of the last. We were just adding 20 more to round out our 50-year anniversary. And it was hard to narrow down that list, but me and Liz worked on that for a while, and it was so hard.
20 more that we can add. So
yeah,
well, I just want to know, did you include Tizonite? Because if not, you need to add more to the list.
Susan, even Tiznow didn't make the list.
What?
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I had American Pharaoh and what's the other Triple Crown winner?
Zenyatta.
Justify.
Oh, Zenyatta, yeah.
Zenyatta.
Okay, wait, I want to read this article. I haven't seen it. Is it coming out?
It's in the mail as we speak.
Okay. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, July, August.
My favorite article that I wrote, I would have to say, would be The Lid for Every Pot, which was one of the adoption series about, I would be amazed at to hear these adoption success stories about how, here's the horse, the blind horse or, whatever. I think it was a blind horse. Yeah, it was one of the stories about, you think, oh my gosh, this horse, how is this horse ever going to get adopted? And horses with the, that you would think, oh, gosh, who's going to adopt this, 20-year-old blind horse? There's a lid for every pot. There's a adopter for every horse. So this was a roundup of some of these amazing matchmaking stories of adoption success. So that was probably one of my most memorable articles.
I love that. And I feel like as far as reading articles you've written, I feel like you are kind of the blanketing guru. Are you comfortable with that title?
I just talked to a lot of experts who are the blanketing gurus and just bring that information to the masses because there is an art and a science to it. So.
And grooming and blanketing. Yes.
Yeah.
I know I can count on this.
So, yes.
Now, are you also, I'm trying to remember, did I see you, are you also a fly spray guru?
I did volunteer for the fly spray article. That is a topic. Not everybody wants to do the deworming and fly spray, but yes, I raised my hand and accepted the challenge. So, and I learned a lot, there's and now I think we have some new fly spray technology that has just launched. So
is it hard? Because, like deworming a horse, like, does that really change? Or does grooming a horse really change, right? We got the curry comb, you got the dandy brush or the stiff brush, some of these things. Is it with the articles? I mean, how do you keep them kind of fresh?
That's the key, Susan. We have to find new information to make it interesting. That's the secret. I mean,
sometimes there is a big breakthrough, rotational deworming is out, targeted deworming is in. That was a lot of education to get people on board with there is no calendar, stop rotate,
Yeah, right when I started, that was every ad would have the calendar, rotate, but we knew the evidence was coming out. Yeah. That's bad. And so now hopefully people know that.
Yeah. Well, so it takes a lot of work to make the information palatable or easily understood.
Yeah. That's a point I wanted to, what I appreciate, and I don't think that I'm the best at it with the articles I write, so I usually try to focus on people and interesting features, but taking something that could be otherwise dry, a scientific thing, sorry Holly, I know you have a science background, but to make it so that it's not a difficult read and to make it easy for the lay horse person to understand. So I guess that's one of the things I appreciate about Horse Illustrated. And that is a real skill, I think, for the writers. Maybe one day I'll be at your level. But
no, it's definitely a skill because a lot of people, even if they're a journalist, equestrian journalist, they still sound too robotic and sciencey, and you just know it as soon as you see it. You're like, ooh, this is too... You don't want it to be dry. To me, science is interesting, but I know it isn't to everybody. So I want to read it in an interesting way. You got to find the writers, develop the talent. Liz knows about that, developing the right mix of writers. So,
well, since we're kind of going down that path right now, if there are people listening to this podcast and they've always wanted to write an article for Horse Illustrated or really, any kind of publication, do you all have advice for like how they can start? And this could be for a younger person, maybe who's still in school, who wants to grow up to be the next Horse Illustrated editor, or just, someone who's got a job and they just want to do it just to say that they, wrote an article.
I guess my general advice, just as far as being a writer, is really be a reader. Notice what makes good writing, or the writing that resonates with you. And the more you read, I think you develop a feeling for grammar and syntax and all that stuff. I mean, yes, you can learn grammar and you can diagram sentences, but the feel for like transitions and pace, and just the more you read, the better. That's really my best advice, I guess.
Yes, and organization, a good lead. Like, you'd be surprised how many articles even now come in with just like the first step to the, like, just dive in with no like, why should you care about this? I think even now I'm still rewriting leads like, okay, you completely skipped over why anyone cares about this topic. Like, let's talk about, oh no, you walked out to the pasture and your horse is dead lame. What do you do? Like, there's like gotta be a like hook, like something to catch your attention. Like, what's, going to make me dive into an article? Because people have shorter attention spans. We've shortened our word counts over the years, as Liz knows. When I started, it was 2,000 words for a feature, and now it's 1,200. And
really?
we try to break up subhead, bullet point, 1, 2, 3, sidebar. It's
the return button.
Yes.
I'm having flashbacks to teaching 6th grade English, actually, because I would do little lessons on how to start an essay. You could have a question. You could have a sensory detail and things like that. And I actually had a poster on my wall, and I would call it a clump, where you have all the writing and there's no paragraph breaks. And I have like the red circle with the line through it, and I called it clumps. And I would just, if a kid turned in something, I'd be like, clump. And so even if they didn't know where to make the, like, hit the return, even if you don't know where to do it. Yeah, that's hilarious.
The wall of text. Yeah, you don't want the wall of text. And I'm a big fan of, if I can make a paragraph 2 sentences, return 2 sentences, just not even, I mean, obviously it has to be an actual paragraph, but like sometimes they'll be longer, but man, that's like ideal for me, because your eye keeps moving better that way for me.
I think there's online tools now that will analyze your readability factor, but a lot of it is transitions and, are your sentences too long, and breaking up the clumps, so to speak.
So what about, I know not everyone listening is a writer, but like, what role do our readers play? Like, have you had people reach out to either of you and say, I would really like to see an article about impaction colic, or, like, I don't know. Do you get like fan suggestions for topics?
Liz, you can take that first.
Oh, gosh, I don't. Well, it certainly makes the job easier when you have a list, because you're always trying to fill the list of health topics. Like, okay, we have this many health topics this year. How are we going to allocate these? What do people want to know? And yes, it is helpful to know what people want to know. So yes, let your editor know what you would like to read, because that makes it much easier to narrow down the whole list of equine ailments as to what health article, which topics make the cut, and same thing with the breeds, people never tire of the breed profile, but, we only get so many in a year. So it's like, what do people want to read? What, how can we reinvent the breed profile, reinvent the seasonal, the sort of the perennial topics, what's the new take on fly spray? What do people want to know about fly control,
Yeah, I agree. Well, what's funny is whenever I tell somebody what I do for a living, that's when I get pitched with, have you ever thought about an article on this and that? And it's like everywhere I go, it's, well, oh, my niece rides a horse. You should go find out about her, this and that. And like, oh, did you know there's something with a horse that happened over here? Like, you should do an article about that. I don't know. It's just like these random people that are not readers or horse people at all. Like, they hear what I do and they all have the great idea, which honestly, like most of them, it's like racing or something we don't cover, but it's kind of funny. Like, suddenly everyone's an expert on what should be in them.
Also, that reminds me, I was just at an event, and then people, when people find out, oh, you have a horse, oh, you ride horses. When I was on vacation, I rode a horse, and then something tragic happened.
It's always something bad,
right?
It's always yes. I rode a horse once, and it tried to scrape me off on a tree, or it's like some bad rental vacation horse experience.
My own dad is the proud owner of one of those stories. Oh, I rode a horse one time on vacation and it took off and galloped away, and like I'm like, it was probably trotting for one.
Well, the one time my dad saw me ride, I went crashing through a fence, and I don't think he could take it anymore after that. And this was as a child. So
wait, is this like a fence you were supposed to be jumping, or
Yes.
just like? Oh, okay.
Yes, my saddle slipped.
Oh no!
Always check your girth.
Like underneath, or
Yeah. So yes, 1 minute I was riding the horse and sailing over the fence, and then everything turned upside down.
okay.
So-
I've had that experience, Liz and Holly. And I blame my sister Renee. So before I had horses, when I was probably 11 or 12, my mom's friend had some horses. It was a pinto mare named Tanya. Why do I remember those details? And it was a Western saddle. And I think there's a little knack to doing the cinch on a Western saddle with that knot. And apparently Renee didn't have that figured out. So I was riding along thinking I'm cool. I'm in the saddle. And then the next thing you know, I remember like being underneath the horse, like still mounted, having sled. So no helmet back then, because I hadn't read Horse Illustrated at that point to tell me. No, actually, it would have been a hunt cap, so it wouldn't have protected me anyway. But I was okay. So
that happened to my mom, and that's why she doesn't ever want to ride again. We were driving cross country from Massachusetts to California when I was 10 for our cross country move. And in Wyoming, she's like, oh, we can stay at this little ranch and they have trail rides. And I was just over the moon, so happy to ride a horse because I had been taking lessons for a little while. And so I was all excited. And she's in the back just like screaming, and her whole body is just going like that. I'm like, you gotta bail, get up. She's just like completely 90 degrees out to the side. So apparently this is something that happens a lot too.
So I've met your mom, so I know she's okay. But
Yes.
Was she okay immediately
Oh,
after
no,
that?
she was totally fine. Like, they were barely moving, but no, she just always reminds me of that. Like, oh, I don't know why you like riding horses. Remember that time when I like slid off the side? Like, well, the girth wasn't tight.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my next question for both of you, or whoever would like to answer, but it should probably be Liz since she is our guest. Do you have any deadline disaster stories or near disasters? Any things that, made you a little stressed out?
I think every editor lives with the fear of the nightmare of blank pages going to press. So, we definitely always have like a backup in my mind plan of like, not just a plan B, but like C, D, E, C, K, whatever, in case they added pages or, if you had to shrink or stretch. But mostly the fear was stretching because, you can always condense things. But yeah, the fear was like not having something to fill those pages.
Well, that's true, because we used to have like a flexible page count, like depending, because the ads were so variable. Like, was there 20 pages, 40 pages? Like, it could be like so variable that we would go up like by 8 pages per form. So like maybe suddenly there's 16 more pages they added because the ad list was longer than. And then I almost forgot about that because we're at a static page count now, so I don't
Right.
that
You
fear
can
lurk.
plan ahead for that, but yeah, having that, always having something in the hopper, so to speak, like filler content, or knowing like I could stretch this article with more photos or sidebars or something. So always having that like sort of in the back of your head. Sourcing for photos, like the nightmare of like, where am I going to find it? This article requires such specific photos, and that's where having a good network of photographers really helps. because we have Horse Illustrated has always had some really amazing photographers, especially with the more practical content where it's not just like a pretty horse running through a meadow, but you need a photo of, like vet ailments or
blanket or the fly spray.
Right. Or something that shows, and it's got to be authentic and correct.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of incorrect horse photos out there, as Holly can tell you from looking through some of the stock photography sites.
I'm still known to draw from the famous Bob Langrish ailments folder. He just has for, I don't even know, probably decades taken pictures at every barn, weird veterinary problems. So if we have some article about a weird health thing, he's probably a place to start to look for it. So,
oh my gosh. So what about, I'm sure there have been very few, if any, typos or things that went to print that were incorrect, but maybe you can share if it was in the long, long past, everyone's forgotten.
There was actually a infamous cover blurb typo. This is before my time, but bad things happen when art directors type. This was apparently a cover line that was just typed in as a filler, and then it was supposed to be corrected.
No.
And it was something like how to square up your halter horse to win dressage. It was something along those lines, and it actually ran that way because it was close enough to seem plausible that nobody questioned it. Or I don't know how this went through, but I'll have to go back and look through some of the archive photos to see if I can find it. But so if you're going to type in something as a placeholder, like lorem ipsum dolor, make sure headline goes here. Although I think I have occasionally seen those things go through, but
Holly, what about you? I have a typo story I just can't wait to tell, but what about on your watch, Holly?
Remembered a cover typo. I don't remember what it was. It was a long time ago, but I have the fear in me now. Someone just caught on one of our digital ebooks, cover typo that I didn't see after looking at it 100 times, which is why I should not be the only person. I do need other eyes, even if I've checked something. When you've seen something so many times, that's where it becomes really important to bring in fresh eyes. Even as an editor with a lot of experience, your brain just fills it in the way it wants to.
Yeah.
So, okay. Had a near miss even recently. So, I think.
Is it okay if I share my typo experience, even though it has nothing to do with Horse Illustrated?
Of course.
It's a doozy. So, one of my friends used to work at Vons. Liz will know it. Well, Holly will know what that is. So, it's a grocery store chain in Southern California. I don't even know if it's still around, but she was in the bakery and they had a flyer for cakes, and there was a typo, and she made a copy and shared it with her students. And then when I saw the copy, I'm like, I need a copy of that because I'm going to pass it out the last week of school to my students and be like, okay, I want you to find the errors in this. So it was listing all the types of frosting or icing on the cake. And, it's for graduation, marriage, and some of it, the commas were wrong. And it had the word, and I'm not going to say it, but it had the word buttercream, and the ER were left out of the word. So you guys in your head can say what that was. And I don't know, did someone get fired? Was that an intentional prank? How do you not notice that buttercream is no longer buttercream, but is something disgusting?
This is where if you're drinking coffee, you should pause.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. But I feel like we need to move on from that point. Couple last questions here. So what do you think would surprise the founders most about Horse Illustrated today?
I'm going to say the fact that people never tire of the breed profile. Still going strong. Loved by all.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like that is one of what I just consider a hallmark of Horse Illustrated, that it's English, it's Western, and there's a breed profile. Like, we are for all types of riders and all types of breeds. And I think, can be called all breed, all discipline, but just the fact that you'll always see English and Western represented in a breed profile, like that, it's not going away. And that's just part of the fabric of the magazine that makes it Horse Illustrated. And
Right.
there's always beautiful pictures of breeds that you can always
dream about. One day I'll have an Andalusian. No, wait.
Yes.
I would like
A
a
young rider right
fjord.
now, the Frisian is so hot. I have like 20 kids a month writing in about how they want a Frisian breed profile. So I had to replace a breed at the last minute. I'm like, you know what I'm going to put in? I'm going to put in Frisian. So
amazing. And then kind of in closing here, why do you think Horse Illustrated has lasted 50 years? When so many other horse magazines have disappeared or they don't exist in print. What's the secret sauce?
I think I think Collie touched on it, but Horse Illustrated is sort of the original all breed, all discipline magazine. A lot of outlets kind of claim that, descriptor these days, but of course we were really the first ones to do it. And I think in some points that was, the horse world is so, very, different breed, discipline, silos. Horse Illustrated kind of covers it all. So we've been sort of the generalist in a very specialist market. But I think that is, kind of been the key to the longevity there, is something for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really for hands-on horse people of any kind. Like, if you want to take care of your own horse and make the decisions and be involved with your horse's life, then it's for you, whether even if you ride or not. I mean, it's just got a lot of topics on horse care. There's only like a little bit about riding. It's more just kind of everything to do with, we've got the features, which is, profiles of people and horses, and groundwork is very popular these days, like to kind of teach people about that, and like wonderful grooming and care, as was mentioned.
And blanketing and fly spray. Awesome. Well, I so appreciate having this conversation, and it's fun. And actually, I have you to thank, Liz, because if it weren't for you giving me a chance to write an article, I think my first article was about being a time-pressed equestrian or something like that. I know it wasn't blanketing and it wasn't a health thing, but it's been a delight because, I loved Horse Illustrated as a girl. And so it's just full circle to be able to, have some of my articles in there and to be doing this podcast with Holly. And so I wish for 50 more years for Horse Illustrated. And thank you again so much for being on our show today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And joining us today to talk about two adoptable horses, I have Marlene Bosch-Hopkins. She's Director of Resources for Mountain Valley Horse Rescue, and that is in Colorado, but we will talk a little more about that in a bit. So first, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, first of all. And we've got Barbie and Bugs to discuss today, and it sounds like they have a little bit of related background that's kind of interesting. If you could tell us about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me and allowing us to feature these horses. Yes, they came in probably about this week last year. So it's been with us for a week with a group of 6 horses that was seized by law enforcement and the Colorado Department of Agriculture. They had been watching these horses for quite some time. They had just spent probably about 7 months watching them, and they were being kept in a very large pasture where they were not being fed any additional food, and just kind of living off the land, which in Colorado, where we are in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of snow. And so there isn't a whole lot to eat until kind of springtime, things start to grow back. And so the group of 6 all were different types of horses, and they came in, some with significant hoof neglect, who were probably at the top of the feeding pack, so they were not as skinny, and then others were definitely more emaciated and needed some groceries. They were in a court hold for quite some time before we could make them available for adoption. And so we took care of them while they were in that process. And then afterwards, we were able to start marketing them.
That's great. And it sounds like, so you had the others found homes except for these two. So I would definitely like to know all about them. It looks like we have one companion horse and one that is suitable for riding. So just anything you can tell us about their personalities, how they are with other horses, and who is going to be the right home for these girls.
Yes. Indeed, of the 6, 3 of them found loving homes. The 4th one, we unfortunately had to make the decision to euthanize due to too much trauma behaviorally. The other 2 are still here, and indeed, Barbie and Bugs, they live together, but they also are very opposite of each other. Barbie is the horse that is rideable. She is probably between 12 and 14 years old. She is a gray mare, very sassy. She must have some gaited horse in her, as she does have that different gait in her when we are riding her. And we do expect her to have been probably put under saddle at a younger age and has not done much in a while. She knows a lot, but she also presents in certain areas a little green. So the perfect home for her would be an intermediate rider that can continue to help her gain confidence under saddle. But so far what we've seen is lovely, and we think that she could be an amazing trail riding horse, mainly because of her gaitedness. Like, she can probably cover some miles. She's in overall good health now, great feet, and she is, like I said, sassy. And that's actually, we discovered that probably a week or so into her being here, and hence her name is Barbara, or Barbie for short, and it fits her really well. And so she just needs a confident person that can handle her on the ground. She is lovely in the corral with other horses. She's definitely the boss, and Bugs lives with her and could potentially be related. We are unsure, but also a gaited horse. She is, however, black. And so it's a white and a black one. Together, they are uber cute. And then Bugs is unfortunately not rideable anymore. It seems like she was likely used for breeding and has some pelvic changes that prevent her from being strong enough to carry a rider. But she is lovely on the ground. We expect her to be probably about 19 or 20 years old, and she is a love bug. We named her Bugs because of the way she walks due to those limitations in her pelvis. She kind of walks like a mantis, like a praying mantis. And so that's why we named her Bugs. But she's lovely to be around. She is part of our volunteer program, which is called Hopeful Hearts. A volunteer gets paired with a companion horse to get them ready for adoption. And she's been doing lovely. She loves groundwork, doing obstacles, being groomed, being around kids, and just overall a lovely horse to be around if you're looking for a companion mare to someone else. Very easy, great with her feet, and kind of more at the bottom of the pack when it comes to being in the corral, but that makes her kind of the perfect companion horse because she would not bother any of your riding horses if you were looking for someone to just hang.
And it sounds like they could potentially go as a pair since they know each other and get along already. So
yeah, they could go as a pair. So if you currently, for example, have no horses and you're looking for one riding horse, Bugs could be a companion to Barbie. We haven't tried this yet, but I think she could absolutely be ponied. So you could take Barbie out on the trail and pony Bugs along. She's definitely strong and healthy overall. We just don't expect her to be a riding horse. And like we said, she's been with us for a year. We have not pushed her to be a riding horse, but we have played with the idea where she could potentially carry a small child being led around the yard kind of situation. So both of them are awesome horses, healthy, fairly young, and just looking for their forever home.
And hopefully someone listening to this, if not for them, maybe they know somebody and can spread the word about these two. So they sound like they just deserve that wonderful forever landing place with lots of love. So
Absolutely.
When I hear stories like this, it's like so heartbreaking, but also so hopeful that, they've been rehabilitated and they're getting some training and they're ready to find their person. So, that's what we want.
Absolutely. And we are actually surprised that these are the two that are not adopted yet, because the other ones that have gone before them from this group of 6 definitely had, a higher threshold to overcome with adopters, more green broke, more skittish, not as friendly as on the ground. Whereas these two, they would love to hang out with you all day.
That's good. And that, just makes me all the more hopeful for them to find that home. And then talking about Mountain Valley Horse Rescue, I know you're in Colorado. Can you tell us maybe what city you are closest to and how many horses? Do you specialize in anything? Do you have other types of animals? Kind of all about it.
So yes, we are located in Colorado in a small town called McCoy. We do not have any cities near us. We're probably about, if you looked at the Colorado map, right almost in the center, we're about an hour south of Steamboat Springs and about an hour and a half north of Vail, Colorado. So we're right there between all those ski resorts and mountains, but in the middle of ranch Colorado country. So we're surrounded by a lot of cattle ranches. And the majority of our horses come through owner surrender or law enforcement intakes. And we can care for about 32 to 35 horses at any given time in our organization. We have just celebrated our 20th anniversary last year in 2025. And we are this year celebrating another milestone where we are 10 years in our location in McCoy. We purchased this ranch in 2016 and have grown significant. We moved 11 horses here from our rented property at the time, and we are now at 35 horses at any given time. And so significant growth. We do have a wait list going at any time from 30 to 40 horses looking for a safe place to land. And our adoptions are currently hitting their highest ever in our history. We are 17 horses so far this year have found their next chapter. And that's really exciting because last year we did a total of 30 adoptions. So being not even halfway through the year, we hope to break that record of 30 horses adopted. We have a small team, though. We are a staff of 5 full-time, and the rest is all covered by volunteers, which we have a wonderful volunteer core that not only helps us with chores, but also helps us, as I shared, with handling companion horses, making sure that they get handled on a daily basis through grooming, through leading, through groundwork and obstacles, and then they get ready for adoption quicker. And so, yeah, small organization. I want to say, for those that don't know, we're probably about 3.5 hours west of Denver, Colorado.
And so if someone is interested in learning more or maybe applying for adoption, I know these two are both on myrightHorse.org's link. If you just search for the name Barbie or Bugs, they came right up for me. So pretty easy to find. But if someone's interested in that application, should they go directly to your website? What's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
The best way to get a hold of us, the quickest, is indeed through our website. We have an adoption interest form there that you can complete, and someone will reach out within 24 hours to see if we have a good fit or if it's indeed a specific course you're looking at. We work on scheduling a time for you to come out. We do adopt to folks that live further, like out of state, is definitely a possibility. However, we still would require you to come visit the horse and meet it. We don't do any sight unseen adoptions. We have just not felt like that's the best fit for the horses that come through our program. But Barbie and Bugs would both be available for adoption to potentially be transported to a different state or a different area. So yeah, our website has always all horses listed. We keep that updated very regularly. And so right now, all the horses that are available for adoption are on our own website. And probably about 90% of them are on myrightHorse.org as well.
Great. And what is that web address? I don't have it right.
It is our full name, mountainvalleyhorserescue.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, Marlene, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate having you on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and have a wonderful day.
You too. For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barnbanter.
Don't be shy. Show us some Barn Banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.